Hey guys, how's it going? It's Baggins here, and today I want to talk about Amazon Game Studios' brand new MMORPG, New World. Now, for those of you who don't know what New World is, as I mentioned, it is an MMO, and it's being made by Amazon, which is a pretty big deal. A AAA studio making a MMO is quite a big undertaking. It's not something we've seen in a while, and the MMO genre has been something that's kind of laid dormant. You know, we've seen a few sort of blips of hype here and there. Obviously, World of Warcraft continues to be one of the most dominant forces in the field, having been around for like 700 years now. But finally, Amazon is stepping into the arena and presenting something new to us in the form of New World. Now, there is a lot of information about New World out there already, and indeed a lot of great creators here on YouTube already making videos covering like every minute little detail they can find about the game, to the point where it was like, well, I want to make a video on New World. I'm excited. I want to share this with you guys, but what could I possibly talk about that somebody else hasn't already talked about? And at that point came to me the 200 IQ idea of, why don't we make a video on what we haven't seen? So over the past few months, we've seen these dev diaries go up, official videos from the New World team, showing us little snippets of the game, what we can expect in terms of PvP, so player versus player, PvE, player versus environment, as well as a few other things here and there about New World and its setting. However, there are quite a few things that I think will be interesting for players to learn about in New World that we haven't seen yet, namely magic, late game content, and crafting. Now, we have seen a few bits here and there relating to magic and crafting, but we've yet to see a sort of a full in-depth video. Now, for me, as a previous, MMO addict, I spent a tremendous amount of time in Lord of the Rings Online. I know, surprising, somebody who calls himself Baggins, being a Lord of the Rings fan. Some of the main things that interest me in those games was getting through the levels and then reaching the late game content, getting into the raids, getting into the PvP, sort of min-maxing. What is New World gonna look like from this front? Now, we know obviously there is a lot of PvP in this game. Initially, when it sort of first started in an earlier alpha form, which I was fortunate enough to play in, there was a heavy emphasis on PvP, and it seems like the game is going back in towards that direction. But how will magic work with PvP? We've heard them talk about the weapons and abilities having different playstyles, so you can be more focused on throwing a hatchet or using a hatchet up close in a hand-to-hand combat. You could be more focused on the defensive aspect of sword and shield, probably buffing some of your teammates, or you can be focused on being more aggressive. But in terms of magic, do we have different types of magic? Is there a sort of a more offensive magic, a defensive magic? Is there different trees? There is still a lot to be asked about when it comes to New World and how exactly magic works. If there will just be one specific, like, you practice magic and then you get better at all forms of it, or if it is going to be more focused on sort of destruction and restoration, a la Skyrim or Oblivion. There is a lot of questions to be asked about magic, and hopefully we're going to see some updates from Amazon Game Studios soon about how exactly magic works in New World. My next question that I would like to ask from Amazon Game Studios, and sort of a dev diary that I would like to have cover on, is the crafting system in New World. And the main question I would have here is, New World seems to be a different take on the traditional MMO. So, you think of things like World of Warcraft, Rift, or even something very old school like RuneScape. A lot of tab targeting is the main way that the game is played. So you tab to an enemy, then you cast a bunch of abilities. Whereas obviously in New World, the combat is all dynamic. So it's just done by looking and aiming at the characters. Much more sort of like an action game that you would get these days, which obviously sets it pretty far away from the other MMOs in the field. Now, my question would be, is crafting going to be any different? So in most other MMOs that I've played, it's go out and kill 10 bears, get bear flanks, get leather, and then combine them together to make yourself gear. In the instance of higher tier crafting, you'll probably need a higher tier resource, so you'll have to kill spooky bears to get spooky bear flanks, and you'll have to refine it into spooky bear leather. Now, are we going to see New World just sort of repeat this crafting system? Is it going to be a little bit different? How exactly can you do it different? Because sometimes it just feels like you're sort of redesigning the wheel at that point. It is just good, and that's the reason why every MMO runs the same crafting functionality. And that's honestly a question that I would pass to you guys. Do you think crafting systems in MMOs need to be reworked? Is there a particular MMO where you guys feel as though crafting has been done really, really well, and you feel like New World should incorporate that in some way or form. Personally, for me, crafting is one of those things that I kind of leave until I have to do it. I know often it's beneficial to do it as you level up, so you can get the materials and the resources in that area that you're leveling up, but I'm just more focused on getting to the end game, and it often feels like crafting slows me down. So whether that will be the case in New World, or I will, find a new love for crafting, we'll have to find out in due time. And speaking of in due time, we obviously know that the closed beta begins in April, but exactly when in April will we see it? Is it going to be towards the end? Is it going to be in the middle? And will we have the opportunity to pre-download the game before New World releases? Like, are we going to be able to install and prepare New World for the day that the servers go live when the NDA lifts with the closed beta? Or is it going to be the case that, we'll have to be stuck downloading and updating the game and patching while other people are going to be live who played in the alpha? That's a pretty big question to me, honestly. As a streamer and YouTuber, being in there first is going to be exciting and beneficial for the content, but if I have to spend, the first half of that day just downloading the game, that's definitely something I hope Amazon have considered, as it would make a pretty big deal to players like me, at least. Now, I mentioned earlier on, one of my questions I have about the game is late game content. We know that a lot of the gameplay is going to be based around territory control. So companies, which are part of factions, can own territory within Eternum, and that will provide them with bonuses. It'll provide them with an area to set up, housing and store your stuff, get buffs, and kind of sort of shapes the whole system of New World. Now, to my understanding, players can partake in the territory system as soon as level 10. However, I would ask the question, is the territory control, the battle, the sieges, the fight for a claim, is that going to be reserved mostly for the high-level players, the people who are at level cap? And indeed, if that is not the case, and anybody can take part in that, is there anything exclusive that remains there for people who have hit the level cap? What reason do they have to keep playing? Once you hit that level cap, usually you'll see a transition to getting ready for raids and getting ready for PvP in a lot of MMOs, whereas if it's the case that you can sort of be raiding and be doing PvP all the way from level 10 to level 60, then what awaits for players at the end of the game? Certainly for somebody like me, who is a raidaholic, a PvP-aholic, this is going to make a pretty big difference to sort of the longevity of the game for me in terms of how much stuff I have to do when I hit that level cap, how much more, is there going to be daily stuff that I can log in to do? Is there going to be a regular maintenance of something that I have to look forward to and a reason that I have to log in for weekly or, as I say, daily? Again, pretty big questions that we don't have the most solid of answers to yet. Another few things that I made on this excellent mind map design that you can see here, a little bit of the inner workings of the Baggins brain. We've seen previously, I mentioned PvP damage scaling. This sort of plays into the late game versus early game player again. If you can be as effective in PvP early on because your damage is scaled up, then what is the benefit of hitting the late game? What is the benefit of getting to level 60? We've seen a few mentions here and there of raid bosses and field bosses, so some sort of group PvE content that players can do together. And we have seen this sort of big spooky boss character appear a few times in various New World videos, but what exactly is this character? Is he a raid boss? Is he a field boss? Do these bosses have mechanics, so to say? So don't stand in the fire. Will they spawn ads? Will it be an aggro system to sort of balance the boss between different characters? The guy with the shield and sword will maintain the aggro of the boss while the DPS shoots it from the back. Is this something that we can expect in PvE content in New World? Or is the idea of the Holy Trinity not really something that the game is going towards? At least in the instance of PvE, this is something that I would be heavily interested in getting the answers for before we actually get the game in its full release form in May. And finally, one of the last questions I have, and maybe this is a bit more of a personal question for me, I can understand that maybe not everybody is interested, but that is Twitch drops. We know Amazon bought or acquired Twitch a while ago, and obviously Amazon and Twitch work pretty closely together with the Amazon Prime, Twitch Prime memes. But Twitch drops, I feel, are something that have become increasingly more important for a game's success on Twitch lately. We saw it with Escape from Tarkov having a massive spike in popularity, the same with Legends of Runeterra back in the day, where if a viewer was to watch a streamer playing that game and they had their account connected, there was a slim chance that you could maybe gain something, whether it's a cosmetic or a weapon, a key just to be able to play the game from watching that streamer. Amazon really haven't mentioned much on the front of like how exactly New World is going to integrate with Twitch, other than that you will be able to connect your account in game so you can see you know, if Mr. TTV is actually a TTV. But yeah, I really think a drop system would be beneficial to this game, and it would be exciting, at least for me, to hear what Amazon Game Studios has planned for New World in terms of Twitch drops. So yeah, that's kind of everything that I wanted to cover on New World that we haven't seen so far, but I still feel like is a pretty important piece of information to know before we jump into the game. Certainly, since it is a paid game, you know, before you put your money up, what exactly do we have to expect from the terms of crafting, magic, and late game content? Again, I've very much taken this from just my own personal experiences and what I enjoy in MMOs, so if you feel like there's anything that you haven't heard about New World from various creators' videos or Amazon themselves so far, let me know in the comments down below. So yeah, as always guys, I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, make sure you go ahead and click that like button. We're going to be going pretty heavily into New World over the next few months, so if you would like to jump in and join in on this stream action, perhaps even join the company, the elite band of hobbits that we're going to set up, I'll put a link to the Twitch in the description down below, and of course you can subscribe on here to stay updated on all the videos as they come out. But yeah, that's been my thoughts and questions on New World, and I'll see you guys all in the next one.